Today we're going to talk about integers and absolute value. An integer is a positive or negative whole number, including 0. Meaning we aren't going to have any fractions or decimals. This is just regular whole numbers. So we're going to talk about the classification of numbers. So when you were little, you learned how to count, and you started with 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Those were called our natural numbers or our counting numbers. And then we learned about 0. And 0 is our whole number. So a whole number is going to be all of the natural numbers including 0. Then we learned about positive and negatives. Now our natural numbers are all positive, but then we know that they have an opposite, and those opposites are the negatives. So then we have what is called an integer, and these are going to be our negative numbers. Now that is including 0 and all of our positive numbers. So we can draw this picture to show that integers are negative numbers and 0 and our positive counting numbers. Those are all classified as an integer. We are going to look at today not only integers, but we're going to talk about something called absolute value. An absolute value has a symbol that looks like 2 lines. So I'm gonna put N to represent some number, and these 2 lines are absolute value symbols. So when you see that, what I want you to tell me is the distance a number is from 0. Okay, now I want you to put in parentheses here. This is always positive. So it doesn't matter if it's a positive or a negative number. Absolute value is always going to be positive, because if this is my number line, and I have -5, -4, -3, -2, and so on. I'm going to go all the way to +5. And I said, okay, I want to know the absolute value of 2. Well, I'm asking you, how far is 2 from 0? Well, how many spaces is it? So we're going to count 1, 2. The absolute value of 2 is 2, because it's 2 spaces from 0. But what about the absolute value of -3? Well, again, we're just counting how far it is. Direction doesn't matter, so we're going to count 1, 2, 3. So the absolute value of -3 is just 3 spaces from 0. So it doesn't matter if it's a positive or a negative in the absolute value, it's always going to be a positive number. So you try one. What is the absolute value of -20? Well, how far is 20 from 0? I know that's not on my number line. -20 is way, way back here, you know. But if we were to count, how many spaces to get to 0 would it take? It would take 20 spaces to get to 0. So what we're going to talk about today is absolute value, as well as how do we represent different integers. We have lots of different words that represent positive integers. We have different words that represent negative integers. So here are some positive integer words. Okay, we have maybe a profit. A profit means we've made money, a profit of $50. Well, I could represent that as a positive 50. You don't have to write the positive, but you can. If it's negative, we have to write the negative. So profit means we gained money. Deposit, a deposit means that we have put money in our bank account. So our bank account, if we have a deposit of $400, means that it got $400 bigger, and we can write the positive 400 or just 400. We can say an increase of 20. Maybe your grade increased by 20 points. So that means it went up. So these are all positive numbers. We also have numbers that represent negative integers. So we have negative, let's write some words for that. Negative integer words. So for example, a loss. Okay, if you're playing football and you have a loss of 30 yards, that's not good. That means you went back 30. So that is a negative. Now the negative you must write. The positive you don't have to. If there's just a number, that's implied that it's positive. But if it's negative, you have to write a negative. A withdrawal is when you take money out of the bank. So your bank account is going to go down. So that implies a negative 250. We can have a decrease. Hopefully your grade didn't decrease, but maybe a price decrease of $40. Well, then that means it went down 40, meaning it's a negative. We can represent integers on a number line so that we can see how they grow and decrease. So I'm just going to draw my little number line again. 1, 2, 3. I'm not going to make it quite as long as the last one. And I want you to notice as I write these negatives that close to 0, I have 1 over here, and I have -1, and then I have -2 and +2, and so on. So I want you to notice that as my number line goes to the left, my numbers are getting less than or lower. Okay? Okay, so as you go left, they get less or lower, and as I go right, they get greater or they increase. Okay, because I want you to be able to put numbers on a number line in the appropriate spot, but I want you to also be able to compare them. So if I gave you the numbers set of -4, -1, and +3, we need to be able to place these on a number line. So I can go up here. Well, I don't actually have a -4, but I know -4 would be here. -1 is here, and +3 is here. So I can see that out of these three numbers, -4 is the lowest, and +3 is the highest. We can represent this with inequalities. Now, you may have learned about inequalities in elementary, hopefully, and you may have learned them as alligators or Pac-Mans. They look like this. This is a less than symbol, and this is a greater than symbol. And we can use these to show how our numbers compare to each other. So, for example, if I gave you 4 and -4, and I asked you to use either the less than symbol or the greater than symbol, well, I know based on my number line, here's 4, here's 0, and here's -4. Remember, this is bigger, and this is smaller. So +4 is greater than -4 because it's further up on the number line. It's more to the right. What if we tried, let's try another one with -7 and -5. Now be very careful here because we want to say that 7 is greater than 5. And if it was a positive, then absolutely it would be +7 is greater than +5. But remember, these are negatives. So we're going backwards. So if I wrote my number line like this, I'm going towards 0. Remember, that's going to get big, and these are going to get smaller. So I can see that -7 is smaller than -5. So I'm going to say -7 is less than. So think of it like money. Would you rather owe someone $5? Or would you rather owe them $7? Okay. Sometimes things are equal. -8, how does -8 compare to -8? Well, they are equal to each other. Make sure you have these notes in your journal. Tomorrow we're going to do some more practice and examples. I hope you have a great night.